Some of you know that I spent most of my life living in Bangkok, Thailand. And in Thailand, in their language, they have one word that's kind of unique. It's the word "wo." Wo. Wo is a corrupted form of the English word over. Oh, wo. And they just take the wo. Wo would apply to somebody that tries just a little bit too hard, and it winds up being awkward. Or maybe a James Bond stunt that's unbelievable. Well, for the last couple of weeks, my colleagues at Halbert Center for Mission and World and Global Service have been talking about the possibility that this yellow jumpsuit and the accessories might be too much. But we finally agreed that we would risk overkill or overdone in an effort to bring a message that you would remember. And our prayer was not that you would remember the yellow jumpsuit, but you would remember the message, which is that we are sent. Every Monday this semester, we anticipate a video. And it may not be as intricate and involved as this video was. Hopefully not as many takes as it took. But we want to make sure that you understand the commission that we have received as disciples of Jesus. Now, I understand that sent can have a negative connotation. If you're like me, when you were growing up, you were sent to your room. And when you went to elementary school, you got sent to the principal's office. And when you're older, you get sent to the bench. Been there. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a courageous first responder who runs to the danger zone instead of running away from it. We're talking about a faithful soldier who accepts a commission from someone he loves and trusts and goes into a challenging situation. Well, what about you? If somebody that you love and trust were to say, Larry or Mary, I need your help. I need you to do something for me. And it's really important. Wouldn't you do it? Well, of course you would. And I've heard stories. Almost every day I hear a new story in the way that you are involved in serving one another and serving our world. But that's what we're going to be talking about this semester. In John chapter 20, Jesus said, "The Father sent me, and I'm sending you." And he's doing that because of love and trust. He entrusts us to be his servants. And so maybe some of you hadn't really considered the possibility that maybe you have gifts that God has placed in you that he wants to be used to his glory. Next Monday, we will have visitors on campus from various nonprofits in Abilene. And they will be wanting to recruit you to work in their nonprofit. Maybe you've heard of World's Backyard or the International Rescue Committee. If you're interested in working with refugees here in Abilene, they're going to be looking for you. Wildcat Kids, Meals on Wheels, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, they're all going to be here, wanting to help you plug in and utilize your position as someone who is sent to Abilene. In October, we're going to shift our vision just a little bit, and we're going to consider being sent to the world. It's a little more challenging than living and serving here in Abilene, but maybe you've heard some stories. Last week, Dr. McCaleb told some stories, and Bryson and Bennett, did you hear about them? Not this past summer, the summer before last. A missionary in Swaziland had written me and said, Mr. Henderson, we're looking for some interns to come work with us. We live in a hut off the grid. You know what that means, off the grid. No electricity, no Wi-Fi, no cell phone. They said we use water from the river, and we would like to have a couple of adventurous souls to come work with us. Well, that's what Bryson and Bennett did for 3 months, serving, especially in an agricultural context, but serving in a very challenging situation. Or maybe in the last 2 weeks you've talked to Julia and Rachel, who spent their summer, this past summer, in Athens, Greece, working from early until late to serve refugees from Syria and Iraq who had fled the war, traveled up through Turkey, across the river, across the Med, and into Greece, serving in a challenging place and situation. And maybe that's for you. In November, we're going to be talking about how we are sent to each other. And we see that every day, don't we? How many times today have people opened the door for me to just walk in? How many emails or texts have I received in the last few hours from you guys, encouraging me because you heard that I was speaking in chapel today? Well, in Matthew chapter 28, Jesus gives another perspective on his commission. The verse that we read just now from John chapter 20, that was John's perspective, and we know that each of the Gospels has its own purposes and such. But Jesus said, the Father sent me, and so I'm sending you. And he breathed on them the Holy Spirit and said, receive the Holy Spirit. Well, the Matthew 28 passage, a passage that you know well, is Matthew's view of that same sending. And there, Jesus said, therefore, go and make disciples of every nation, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe everything I've commanded you, and surely, absolutely, guaranteed, I am with you to the end of the age. And that's really important. The fact that Jesus is with us, whether we're going to each other, whether we're going to Abilene, or whether we're going around the world, the reminder that Jesus is traveling with us. In fact, the book of Matthew, in chapter 1 of Matthew, you remember when the angel appeared to Joseph and told him that Mary's going to have a child and his name will be called Jesus. And then he says, he will be called Emmanuel, which means, God with us. And so in chapter 1 of Matthew, it's God with us. At the last verse of the book of Matthew, it says, I'm with you always. And so I think it's really important that you and I realize, whether we're doing accounting in Tanzania, whether we're doing agriculture in Namwianga, or whether we're doing medical service somewhere, or whether we're teaching in a classroom, whether we're tutoring children or encouraging people and help to put lives back together after they were destroyed by trafficking, various ways that we can serve, but every one of those are spiritual in nature. I hope that you will be looking and listening and reflecting this semester on where you might be able to serve and how you might be able to serve. But there's really no need to ask why we're serving, because we know we have been sent by someone who loves and trusts. God bless you. You're dismissed.